We are live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg. It's 8 o'clock and you know what that means. It's time to engage with you on matters that affect you, matters that affect your family, matters that affect your community. Tonight, we are discussing child abductions and child murders. Why? Because it's topical. A very good evening to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical. Our digital audience is with us tonight. As always, good to have them on the program. We're going to get their burning questions as well as their comments for our guests in a short while. Our children are going missing. Our children are being killed. I picked this up from the Missing Children South Africa. A child goes missing every 5 hours in South Africa. Every 5 hours in South Africa. This is according to figures released by the South African Police Service's Missing Persons Bureau for 2013. Missing Children South Africa statistics indicate that 77% of children are found. Good. Which means what though? It means that at least 23% of the children being either never found, trafficked, or found dead. It is a real and present danger. So what is being done about it? Because this could be your child, which leads us to the question of the week. Pertinent question indeed. Following the brutal murder of 4-year-old Bokgabo Poo, what do you think should be done to curb child abductions and murders in South Africa? Walk with me while I get you more context. What are some of the red flags? What are the motives behind these killings? We've got to talk about this, South Africa, at its topical SABC. Let me give you more context now and an overview on tonight's discussion. And for that, we go to the magic wall. I want you to have a look at this. Shocking stats indeed. Kidnapping trends over a three-month period. Statistics here. Now, according to the South African Police Service, quarterly crime stats in the first quarter of 2022-2023 showed every province experienced an increase in kidnappings, with Gauteng having the most reported cases. There were over 3,500 kidnappings reported between April and June this year, which is an increase of over 59% or 1,318 cases compared to last year. Have a look at this now. I want to look at the kidnappings. Top police stations. Of the 30 police stations that reported the kidnapping cases in the country, 24 were from Gauteng. Have a look at this. As you can see, 24 of them are from Gauteng. Now, the Vosloorus and Kempton Park recording the highs, 77, and this is from April to June 2022, 77 and 45 respectively, Kempton Park and Vosloorus and Kempton Park in that order. And you can see, if you can work out where the problem areas are, these are the areas here, and these are the cases. It's shocking, South Africa. It is shocking. But what is being done about it? Let's look at hotspots. Where is the problem areas? We know parks, streets, playgrounds, a few happening in schools, which is very sad. Shopping areas. I was talking to my son the other day and telling him to hold my hand while we walk in the mall, and he says, why? Because I said, there's danger here. He couldn't understand it. He's 11. Why should they fear going to the malls? Important question. We're going to discuss that as well. Let's look at this now. Missing children fall into different categories. We have runaways, we have parental or family abductions, victims of crime, stranger abductions, human trafficking. Now I want to show you this. This is very important advice as well. They say don't panic. It's hard not to, right, when your child goes missing. But that's the advice. This is very important. Do not wait 24 hours. There's this myth that goes around that you have to wait 24 hours before you report it. Not true. So as soon as you feel that your child is missing, go to the police station. Take a recent photograph of the child to the police station. Also give a good description of what the child was wearing and their last whereabouts. Get a reference number, contact name, and number of officers assigned to the investigation. And if your child returns home, then obviously you need to report this to the police. Numbers and information, it's nothing out of context, right? We're going to discuss this shortly. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga briefed the media on the department's readiness today. Over 755,000 full-time and around 167,000 part-time grade 12 learners will start writing their final exams on Monday. However, in Groutville, in KwaZulu-Natal, there is a grade 12 learner who will not be sitting for these exams because he's missing. We visited the area and spoke to the family, the community, and police. Watch. Reportedly, over 900,000 learners have been enrolled for this year's National Senior Certificate examinations. But sadly, and most notably for this community of Groutville in KwaZulu-Natal, Clinton Gomede will not be writing that all-important exams. Why? He's missing, we're told, since May this year. We've gathered some community members as well as Elo's family, his gogo, as well as Malume are here, Joyce, as well as Pakamani. And the community who, I guess, are really trying to deal with the unknown, the agony of the unknown. And I'll ask the community members, if you want to add your voice to this, your concerns, please come to the mic and then we'll get your thoughts on this matter. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Joyce, to you first. This must be heartbreaking. Talk to us about the circumstances surrounding Elo's disappearance.
Ngibingelela umphakathi waseStenga. Ngibonge ukuthi basisupport ngesehle sangehlela. Usicelo ngimsusa ekhaya empangeni endaweni yasePort and Fort uthi azofunda eStenga eqedela umatric wakhe. Kuthe mangabe sefika la eStenga wahlangana nomunye umfana emthatha ukuthi umngani wakhe. Lo mfana wamthatha wathi kunomsebenzi ubungekho umsebenzi usho ukuthi uyazi ukuthi wayemholela kuphi. Wamthatha salokhu sithi kwakum Saturday salokhu sithi usicela ukhona kanti usicela akekho uyazi yena akekho. Emva kwalokho usicelo sekufanele ngabe uyatholakala wathi yena sekuhlangana umphakathi umasha nabesikole wathi yena akafuni ukuthi abuze ngesicelo ukuthi ukuphi wahamba wawubopha thina. Kunomsebenzi ukuthi kusuka abantu basempangeni eRichards Bay bezala eStenga njalo nje ngelanga lecala singazi ukuthi icala wayelivulela ukuthini ngoba ithina sasilahlekela umntwana. Lokho kwangiphatha kabi uthe ngoMay elahlekile usicelo uma wakhe wahluleka ukumukela ukuthi ingane yakhe ilahlekile. Kuthe ngoJuly wangena esibhedlela wangena esibhedlela kwathi mhla ka-18 wangena ngolwesine kwathi mhla ka-18 kwakumsombuluko ngathi ngifika kuyena athi amanesi uyahluleka ukumukela lento. July 18 uma wakhe washona.
You, Elo's uncle, and I want to learn more about Elo. I don't want it to just be an abstract number that one person is missing. It's not, sadly, it's not a unique story in South Africa. Talk to us about him.
Elo is a very simple kid. He loves soccer. Yeah. He's very focused when it comes to school. He studies a lot. He's easy to make friends with. So he's easy to get along with. Yeah. He's that kind of person. He's a lovable person to anyone who come to his surrounding. Yeah. He loves soccer. He plays soccer a lot. He's very focused on passing his matric. Yeah. Yeah. He was a very kind.
And he was obviously studying towards that.
He was studying toward and he was studying hard.
Yeah.
He was studying hard.
And now his mom is gone, not knowing whether her son was alive. It's such a tragic story. I just want to invite the community members, if anyone wants to add to that or their concerns.
Namesizwa indaba ekanje zokunyamalala kweingane, ingane ibulawe kwenzeke izinto ezinjalo. Thina sicela ukuthi uMinisa wamaphoyisa ubhekicele akwazi ukuthi la eStenga njengoba umama ekhala ethi lamaphoyisa ala eStenga awenzi lutho akwa interfere kulolu daba ukuze kwazeke ukuthi lento ingaqhubeki ngoba lento le yandila khona kodwa ukuthi khona iissue kamama kuphela.
Ngu Abednego wakampanza. Sibhlungu ke ngoba since usicelo aduka ngoMay 2 months back kade ngisempangeni ngiyongcwaba uma wakhe ngesizathu sokuthi bathe odokotela unenkinga ye-depression ungakwazi ukwamukela ukulahleka komntwana wakhe. Kule region yethu ke emphakathi waseStenga kwaDukuza sinenkinga yokulahleka kwabantwana ayiqali kwakhona la kwamakhalane la emission kwaduka ungane entombazane yomunye ubaba owaziwa ngoSkaplus ayitholakala namhlanje. Kwazolandela usicelo akutholakala namhlanje. 3 weeks back la eZansi eBridging kutholakale khona umuntu eshoniwe akaziwa nokuthi wapi. Engicabanga ukuthi umkhuba lo ofikile futhi angeke ngabazi ukuthi uhambisana nokuthwala. Since kukhona lezi zinto zokuthwala abantu bengafuni ukusebenza befuna indlela ezilula zokuceba. Wonke umuntu ke manje ufuna ukuthwala ngabantu bafuna ukuthwala ngamagazi abantu. Lento sithi owazi usicela ukuthi uphi nowamthathayo akambuyise ngoba siyamfuna. Noma ngabe kuthiwa sesithola ithambo lakhe ke simncwabe. Sesicela ithambo ke singcwabe yena kusicela ngoba lento iyacaca ukuthi ukhona owaziyo thina siziphuphu. Sifunana nengane asiyazi ukuthi kephi kodwa ukhona owaziyo. Ngoba usicelo bengasona isigangi ingane yafail umatric wathi usicelo ufuna umatric wabuyela kwa grade 11 ngoba eyimisele umntwana ofocus.
What would you like to see now happen in terms of police, in terms of your local leaders, etc., in order to keep the children here safe?
Engifisa ukubona kwenzeka ukuthi siqale silungise ipolice station yakithi ngoba thina umsebenzi we-SAPS is to serve and to protect. So if thina sihlele emphakathini thina sekunzima la eGroutville la sonke sekuyidemand ukuthi sibe nama security. Siba sonke akuthina sonke siaffordayo ukuba nenkampani zama security. We are not safe anymore.
How would you feel if all the other learners are writing their matric exams and your child is not because they're missing? It's tragic indeed, but what needs to happen? We're going to get answers right here on It's Topical. We are joined now by Brigadier Jay Naika from the KwaZulu-Natal Police Department. We understand that Celo went missing in May this year. What's the latest with regards to the investigations?
That's correct, Blaine. He went missing in May after he visited a relative, and when he did not return home, his family reported him missing at the KwaDukuza police station. Since then, detectives have been inundated with a number of calls from family and friends, even the teachers and principal at the school. A lot of sightings. He was reported. A lot of sightings came through. He was seen in a taxi. He was seen at a tavern. So there was a lot of tips that came into police, which they had to follow up. We even made use of the search and rescue unit from the police, who have search and rescue dogs, to search certain areas where these sightings came from. And as I say, continuous leads are still coming in, and the investigation is still very active.
You said that you are getting inundated with calls from family members, concerned community members. If my child goes missing, I want an update every hour. Obviously not possible, not practical, but you get my point in terms of the desperation from the community. In terms of the continuous flow of information, in cases like this, is that an issue? Are people begging for information? They're desperate. They want to know where their child is. What's the best way forward in terms of this?
Well, the family, it's very important that the family keeps in contact with the investigating officer, any new information that comes forward. In this case that's happening, it seems like the family is very much involved in the investigation. They are speaking to the investigating officer, even the station commander. But what's coming out from other interviews from anonymous sources, even the station commander tells me that she gets people that send their WhatsApps, but they're not coming forward. They try to set up meetings with them. Other information is coming to the fore. And with all these investigations, we're asking people to be very truthful. That is the family and friends. They need to be very honest with the investigators, because if they keep information away from us, that will obviously affect the investigation and its successful resolving of this matter. So in such cases, any information that they may have, they must speak to the investigating officers So yeah, that's what we ask for from families.
Brigadier J. Naga, thank you very much indeed
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thanks, Dame Blake, for your time.
It's such a painful story. We also visited the school he used to attend, Kwanonhlevu Secondary School. We also spoke to his friends and a classmate and teachers about Celo's disappearance. And after Celo's disappearance, the school actually marched to the police station as a way to plead with police to fast-track the search. These cases can't be abstract. We can't afford to be numb to the sorrow of missing children, missing adults. Although it is seemingly ubiquitous in South Africa, we have to get down to the roots of what's the cause, what's the risks, what's the threat. I want to find out more about Celo Gumede. We're here at his school in Groutville. We're joined first of all by his teacher, Lindiwe Bengo, as well as his friend, Mbuso Mahlangu. Lindiwe, if I can just start with you first. I understand you taught Celo geography. Tell us more about him in class, the class environment. What sort of learner was he?
Celo was a bright boy who had the potential to make it in future. Unfortunately, things happened like this, and we are all so saddened about his missing. But hopefully, maybe something will happen in order to find his body or him being alive. So we're praying that we'll get some help or some answers about his whereabouts.
Let's speak to Mbuso now. You've known Celo since grade 11, I understand. But prior to that, I think you grew up in the same area. Didn't really know each other back then, but really become fond or close friends over the last year or so. Supposed to be writing matric examinations in a short while. Unfortunately, not for him. Talk to us about how your reaction, firstly, when you heard that he disappeared.
The same day, the day they reported that he was missing, he didn't come at home. He was with me around 11, and that's what it. I was shocked. Actually, I was shocked because the man just blew it away. But at some point, I thought he will show up as a man. So like he will show up and say, maybe I'm here. That's why I ran it. I was there. I was there because it was Friday. Yeah. It was Friday, and then I thought maybe he was going somewhere. But as the mind was saying, he's not that guy who go outside because he was focused on school.
And look, we read about it in the newspapers, we see it on TV, but it never really hits home until it happens to a close friend, a close family member, isn't it? How are your friends coping? What's the talk? Has it changed your behavior in any way? Are you more galvanized to protect each other in this regard?
Yes, we are starting to protect each other a lot because right now we are starting to communicate with our parents so that they know what we are doing, and most of the time we are together studying. There is nothing else because at some point Celo's missing is really hitting us because we used to study it. We were 5, now we are 4, and then there is a gap because we used to divide each other's work. So now there is a gap work we need to cover, and he was the guy who always say, work hard, even though we are not getting motivated, but he was there as the energy to us. So right now, without that energy he used to have, the ship is going hard.
Mr. Dumisani Zondi is the principal of the school. You heard the pain of both the teacher and learner. You as a principal, as the head of the school, how are you coping? What are you talking to your staff about? Talk to us about the impact that Celo's disappearance has had on the school.
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, when it all started, it shocked us, all of us. We were so shocked, but we thought maybe, because it is a boy, maybe he just went to his friend somewhere, he'll come back. But as time goes, we could see that this was serious and he was not coming back. You see, we are starting exams on Monday, and at the moment, you see, we are busy with preparations for the examination. We are busy with the revision plan. But you know, when you go to his class, you know, the Celo used to sit there, but he's not there. And what is going to be happening when we all start writing on Monday? You see, you can see the impact within his friends, his classmates, the teachers, and everyone.
As a principal, do you think that new ways of educating the learners in terms of the dangers out there, programs in place? Is that needed at this time?
You're 100% correct. We need such programs. Lucky for us, the Department of Education is providing such. They will now and then come, we'll have talks with the learners during assembly. The community is also playing its role.
Look, let me bring in the local councillor, Mr. Dube. There, but for the grace, if you believe in a higher force, we pray that our children are safe when they go to school, when they go anywhere. But still, the dangers are there. We need leadership on the ground. What sort of role does local leadership play in order to put pay to such incidents and keep our children safe?
Thank you so much. One, the local leadership have tried to assist the family when Stella disappeared in terms of motivating them, giving them hope that the boy will be found. We also assisted in terms of trying to put pressure to a local police station to push the police to do their work. I've interacted with the detective that is in charge of the case. I interacted with the person that is in charge of the case. Yes, they tried to assist. I think there was one search from the community, there's another one search from that was assisted by the school. But until today, unfortunately, we've not been lucky in terms of finding Stella. What makes it worse to what goes, it's an issue of the response of the police to all the cases that were reported by communities in my ward. It can be a murder case, it can be a house robbery, or I don't remember seeing a solved case.
So the issue of crime very much prevalent in this area. Look, we wish this community nothing but the best. I hope that Celo is found safe and sound. Obviously, we'll need to keep tabs with regards to local police, councillor as well, coming to the fore in order to find solutions that we can stop this. It is no doubt a tragic story, but one of many. That's the sad part of this story. This issue, we're told the statistics are every 5 hours a child goes missing. That stats back from 2013. How do we get to that better place? Answers coming up. So from KwaZulu-Natal, we go to Upington in the Northern Cape, where our colleague Reginald Witboy spoke to the parents of Laverno van Wyk, who went missing in May this year, and he still hasn't been found. All the parents are pleading for is the son's safe return.
It was on the 31st of May this year when 5-year-old Laverno van Wyk disappeared. And at the time he was wearing a yellow and green t-shirt, a mustard pants and black boots. He disappeared after him and his friends went out to play, but he never returned. Police and community members went on a search looking for him, but it was all in vain, and it's almost 5 months now. His parents, community members, police still looking for answers, but more importantly hoping that he will arrive back here at his house alive. I can't even imagine how you as a mother must feel. Tell me if you can just recap or refresh our minds in terms of what happened that day.
Die dag was ek in die werk. Toe ek uitval, toe ek die kinders gestuur om te kyk as ek in die boon nie, by papa nie. Toe kom die kant, toe sê die kant is nie by papa nie, maar die kant was trainspoor toe. En toe gaan sy trainspoor toe. Shedikwa. En toe hy daar kom, toe kry nie meer die kind daar nie. En dit was nog eers 5 uur. Toe was hy weg. Sy klaar weg. Vriende weet nie waar sy nie, niemand nie. Ons het geloop hier aan tot 2 uur toe die ander dag. Om my kind soek. En ons na die paad toe gegaan. Toe laat was my gesê, weet jy, die kind is by hom. Maar toe beweeg ons maar saam. Elkeen op sy eie soek. Ons het gesplit. Dit is nie lekker nie. Dat is hoekom ek by my begeerte is. Ek voel my kan lewe. Jy wat hom het, bring hom terug. Bring hom terug. Want ek mos niemand leed aangedoen nie. Gee my kind, dat hy by my bly. Dat hy is by my soos elke dag. Al het nou mini matriek afskeid. Ek kan hom nie sien nie.
Look, the pain is all too apparent. We'll have to discuss this further. We need to flesh this issue out. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, discussion with our... We're not taking a break? All right, let's get straight into it and let's walk with me. We need all the time we can get and speak to our guests as well as our digital audience. I think it's a good call. We have Bianca van Aswegen, a criminologist and the National Coordinator for Missing Children South Africa with us, as well as our digital audience. We're going to get to you in a short while. Bianca, first to you. The profile of child killers, those who abduct, are they normally people who are familiar with the family, people within the circle of trust? What is the research telling us?
Yes, good evening. Unfortunately, the profiling regarding these perpetrators are very difficult, as these types of crime and perpetrators have not been studied enough in South Africa to put a specific to it. But we've got different reasons, why children get kidnapped, and also depending on a specific kidnapping, we're looking at a specific perpetrator. So if we look at our opportunistic kidnappings where a child has been taken for basically personal use, we look at the sexual offenders in the area. Is this person known to the child, a family member, family, friends, people within the community? Are they out on parole? Are they out on bail? Have they offended before? Because that has happened many times. So yes, some of these perpetrators are actually known to the children. And then yes, there are also people that are strangers to the child that actually does the kidnapping too. Yeah. So if we look, for instance, at human trafficking, that has also escalated in South Africa. We look at illegal adoptions. We've got organ harvesting. We've got sexual exploitation. We've got forced labor. So it all depends on what the victim is actually going to be used for, who the victim will be that is taken. Yeah. So for instance, once again, if we look at our illegal adoptions, very young babies will be the targets of that. Organ trafficking, anybody is vulnerable to fall victim to that. Young girls, young women, sexual exploitation. And then young boys and young men are victim to forced labor. Yeah. So it all depends on the situation and the kidnapping purpose at the end of the day. But we do have to be very careful, especially when it comes to family members, family friends, and people within our community. We as parents and guardians need to look out for those red flags, because we have seen an increase in cases where the perpetrators are known to these children. So we look at, for instance, inappropriate comments, too much attention to a certain child, inappropriate touching. So if your child comes to you with concerns or do you feel uncomfortable with a certain person, listen to them, because it might just save their life.
Bianca, we're actually joined by Tsolofelo Poo, young Bokgabo's mother, 4-year-old that was brutally murdered. Ma'am, it's good to have you on the program. I know you're in pain, I know you're hurting, but you're also speaking out and putting purpose to your pain. Talk to us about what will give you comfort at this stage of your grieving process, if you can unmute. If you can unmute.
Okay.
There we go.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm better than I deserve. Yes, your audio. If you can just pause, I just want to welcome our SABC2 viewers as well. We're joined, a very good warm welcome to you, just to put you into the picture in terms of what we're talking about. It's such a great pleasure having you on board. My name is Blaine Herman. It's Topical, and it's a program where you have your say on the burning issues of the week, and we have a jam-packed program. As always, we have our digital audience here as well. They're joining us from all corners of the country via Zoom with pertinent views on the issues. And this week, we're talking about our children going missing. Our children are being killed. It is a real and present danger. So what is being done about it? That's our question as well. Following the brutal murder of 4-year-old Bokgabo Poo, what should be done to curb child abductions and murders in South Africa? We're lucky enough to have Bokgabo's mum on the line. Ma'am, sorry to cut you off there, but just talk to us about your grieving process and what would give you comfort at this stage.
I think what would give me comfort at this stage is being able, at least if the police could at least track Ntokozo so that he can tell us what really took place, what happened, who is behind him taking my child, and who helped him mutilate that body so quickly at such a short time. You know, I think me finding out those pieces that I'm questioning myself about could perhaps try and bring a bit of closure, even though this is something that is surreal and something that I will forever have a memory of. So, yeah, I think that him just talking,
right,
the police getting him talking, would bring me some kind of closure.
And my understanding is that your baby is not buried yet. Why?
I have not yet buried Bokgabo, simply because I'm still waiting for DNA results to come back. So I was told that they'll be running throughout the weekend, there by the lab, and I will get a comprehensive analysis report either Monday or latest on Wednesday. So that's the only reason why I haven't buried whatever of her I have.
You know, I can only say that just know that your angel is now in a better place, and hopefully the beautiful memories in the last 4 years that you've conjured up with her will hold you and comfort you and provide you a measure of solace. We're so sorry for your loss. Dr. Shahida Umar, it's not a unique story. Why do children have to suffer like this? What's going on with our society?
Well, I think what's going on with our society, we're surrounded by a culture of violence. Violence seems to be the norm. And the thing is that there aren't sufficient measures instituted to protect children, to ensure their safety. But even if we look at law enforcement and the responses that are elicited, the lack of appropriate, adequate, and timeless responses certainly creates a momentum where victims are further traumatized, and we are finding that victims are not being able to be traced in time, body parts missing. And I think so we need to look at the broader systems. It's not just a single factor that contributes to this. If we look at the safety of children and the measures that are instituted at schools in terms of prevention programs, now we cannot actually impose this burden and responsibility on children to say to them that they are in danger, they need to do this, they need to do that, they need to stop, shout, scream, and seek out for help. I think that is an unrealistic expectation we're placing on children. In fact, we as adults, safeguarding is key, where each and every person in society is responsible for the safety and security of each and every child. Right. So whilst parents are responsible, community schools are responsible, law enforcement, the criminal justice system also needs to mete out punishment that, that actually is deserving of what the perpetrator has committed. Because what we are finding, and I think if we look at the whole parole system and how bail is granted to alleged perpetrators or perpetrators that have been charged on previous offences, this is giving them carte blanche to continue perpetrating and violating. So I think generally the approach needs to be more diligent, needs to be more stringent, because as we speak, we find that there's a pocket of excellence as far as law enforcement is concerned. And certainly the wish is that if we want to see children being safe, children being protected, we need to also have visible policing, which we don't actually have. And even the response time, when parents call out, many times we get called because they feel that the response they're receiving is not appropriate or is not time yet. And that is something that we need to also be aware of. If we do not address all these issues, our children are continuously going to be violated. We're going to continuously talk about children being killed. I mean, 3 decades ago, we talked about babies, infants being murdered, plundered, and we are now in 2022 and we're talking about the same thing. This is not acceptable. Child safety, something that is critical.
Yeah, there was a common complaint as well in terms of the response and also the information that is coming up. Christine, I note your hand. Professor Leon will come to you in a short while as well. We need to take a quick break. Discussions up next. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. We're talking about missing children. We're talking about child abduction. We're talking about child murder. What is at the root of this? We have a digital audience as well as our guest, Bianca from Missing Children South Africa, criminologist as well. I want to get to Christine from UNICEF. You had your hand up in terms of contributing to this discussion. I wanted to ask you in terms of early intervention services that's needed in order to stop this. What should be in place?
Yes, good evening, and thank you again for bringing to us such an important topic to discuss tonight. The colleagues who spoke before me said already that there are so many reasons why children are suffering from violence in this country, and it's truly unacceptable. And as the previous intervener was saying, we are truly in a race to save children in this country, and we can't be talking about it any longer. So what we're trying to do as UNICEF here in South Africa, working under the leadership of the Department of Social Development, as you said, is working on scaling up prevention and early intervention services at a community level, but everywhere where we know the children are. You were talking about, them being abducted or victims of violence in parks. We need to work on safe parks, developing approaches with the communities, with schools, with the Department of Social Development, so that, where there are parks in a community where children play or, hang around, those places are they have monitoring, they are truly safe places where children can find themselves to interact, but in a way that's supervised, so that they're not victims of abduction, kidnapping, or other violence. We need to also work where we know where children are victims of violence in the house, where it's because of domestic violence. Work on positive parenting. We need to make sure that the community feels part of child protection. I heard someone say earlier, somebody may know, where Gumede is, and I really hope there is a positive outcome of his case, of his situation. People should help, feel a part of the response to these kinds of cases. We need to bring justice. The mother who was talking to us earlier was saying that she's still, trying to get closure to what happened to her, because, justice services are slow or lacking. So we working on all of this, and what I will probably want to end up with is by saying that these community level child protection services need to urgently be scaled up so that there is both prevention and early intervention to save children's lives in this country.
Christine, thank you very much indeed for your contribution. Now, you're talking about Bokgabo's mum earlier on speaking. We're actually joined by more families on the program tonight whose children are missing. Mpho is the Fiona Matodzi's aunt. Fiona went missing back in August 2022 in Limpopo. Mpho, tell us the story of Fiona.
Good evening, everyone. Fiona went missing on the 11th of August. She never came back from school. Up until today, we're still searching for her. We don't know where she went. We don't know who took her. Although there is eyewitness and suspects, 3 suspects, but still the police haven't arrested the suspects. So we just want justice for our Fiona.
How old was Fiona? How old is Fiona?
Fiona, she went missing when she was 9 years, but now she's 10 years.
And in terms of your interaction with police, are they saying there's any leads? What are they talking in terms of the flow of information that's coming to the family? What more are you learning?
We changed the detective.
Right.
So they took the case to someone else, but the new officer is doing all his best, I think. He's trying because he's even communicating. Yeah, but I can't say that there is a lead exactly, but he's doing something. He's doing the follow-ups. So hopefully we'll get something.
Yes, no doubt. Our hearts goes out to you as well. Strength to you and the family. We're also joined by Sharon. Sharon is Bontle Mashiane's aunt. Bontle went missing, I understand, last year, Sharon? If you can unmute, Sharon. Sharon, can you hear us? All right. If you can unmute. All right, so we'll try to get back to Sharon in a short while. Professor Olterhuizen, talk to us with regards to how do we create these safe spaces for our children? Society, grassroots up. Everybody needs to work together, isn't it?
You're absolutely correct, Blaine. And I think the message is clear. We know the solutions. We understand what needs to be done. From prevention all the way through to intervention, to statutory intervention. The question is why is it not working? And I think if we're thinking that the answer is that we need better policing, we need more service provision, I think we need to look beyond that, and we need to look at our society and our communities, and we need to look at forces of passion in our communities, that our communities need to feel part of the solution. And that takes a conversation that needs to happen at a grassroots level. And I think the low-hanging fruits for us as institutions of higher education is to train up professionals that can actually deal with the type of offenders and perpetrators that we've seen. They're becoming sophisticated. Many years ago, the type of crimes, sexual abuse, sexual assault crimes, human trafficking that we saw in South Africa was not that sophisticated. And it was easier to profile the type of offenders that engaged in this. Currently, we're seeing that these syndicates are becoming much more sophisticated. And I must say, I don't think our criminal justice system and our police force is actually up to the task of investigating. If we're still using our traditional ways of investigating, we need to catch up to the kind of international standards of profiling of offenders, and need to actually engage with them at a level that we understand how to prosecute these offenders. We need to train our social workers, our child protective service workers to do the correct type of assessments, to do the correct type of court work reports, so that we can actually, once apprehended, that we can actually find the evidence to sentence these perpetrators. And when it comes to parole boards, we need the same level of due diligence with regards to risk. If this person poses a risk to society, we need to be able to say that in the parole board, and we need to say we're not going to give this person parole because he or she is a risk for reoffending in our communities.
Correct.
So I think we need those forces of passion, Blaine. We need people, communities to say enough is enough, and let's get together and finding solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Mahle, I see your hand. Also, Mkulu, we'll try to get Sharon as well to tell their stories. We need to take another quick break. More on this very, very important topic in terms of finding solutions to why children are being abducted and why children are being killed. Next. Right, children going missing, children being killed. How do we get to a better place by preventing this from happening? This show, as you know, it's solutions driven. Let's talk to the better minds, and we'll be joined by Sharon now. Sharon is the Bontle Mashiane's aunt. Bontle went missing, I understand, last year. Tell us the story, Sharon.
Good evening. Bontle went missing on the 30th of April. Found after 3 weeks, being dumped near our home, mutilated. Yes.
Sorry, I just missed that last part. Just repeat yourself, Sharon.
I said Bontle went missing on the 30th of April.
Yes.
Then his body was found 3 weeks later near our home.
And talk to us about I'm so sorry for your loss. Talk to us about the investigation. Anyone arrested? What's the latest with regards to the case?
5 people were arrested and they were not granted bail so far. So the case will go back again in December.
So they're not granted bail. How old was Bontle?
She was 6 years old.
Oh. Sharon, thank you very much indeed for talking to us tonight and you know, explaining the story. I mean, as I said, it's ubiquitous. It's not unique, and that is the problem. Let me bring you Mkulu Apiwe. So, you are a traditional healer. What do you think is the root cause here?
Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Mandi Apiwe Ganduli. I am the traditional healer. However, the real reason that I think people are missing out is understanding the fact that Ubuntu comes from understanding that whoever, any person for that matter, that you get to meet with, the life they live and all that they resemble what you hope for and what you wish to have. In this case, we find people, especially in our communities, they struggle or they fail to understand or to engage in psychological health and that people that may need. You would understand in majority of our communities, we do not understand or know of mental health. And the only problem that we know thereof is that of people being treated at certain spaces. Yeah. If we can engage a lot more and bring people into understanding that, even in regards to the issues that we are dealing with today, we need to understand that as communities, it takes a village to raise a child. We need a village. We need to protect our children, and someone in our communities knows something, and we need them to call out the perpetrators.
So basically, see something, say something, right? That's the golden rule.
Certainly, and not leaving out that we need a community police, the forums that are dedicated.
Oops, we seem to have lost our digital audience. Let's take it to you, Bianca. With regards to psychological support services, finding out, the stresses that leads to violence, especially within a family setting. Is that happening to the extent that will prevent such incidents?
Yes, I think COVID has also played quite a big role in the escalation of crime in general, and especially with human trafficking and kidnappings, the topic that we are discussing tonight. Families have been stuck together in a house for 24 hours a day with lockdown, strict restrictions that we had, and they haven't actually been like that ever before. So psychologically, that had quite a big impact in many different ways. But yes, psychological assistance is really needed, especially where children are being bullied, that might be abused at home, that might actually up and leave and run away and be a vulnerable child out on the streets as a victim to be kidnapped. So we need to look at those things. And also when it comes not just to children or people that are vulnerable to become victim of any type of crime, but with the perpetrators, more needs to be done regarding the profiling, the psychological profile behind why they are doing this. Our justice system, our profiling when it comes to releasing them on parole, as was discussed earlier, the whole thing is psychological orientated.
Bianca, just stand by. I want to just replay one of the stories that we played a little earlier on, but you didn't get the full effect of what we were talking about. It happens in the Northern Cape. Our colleague, Reginald Witbooi, was in conversation with the parents of Laverna van Wyk, who went missing in May this year. And this is what he had to find out.
Ek sê ook aan my vriende, ek voel eens weer om te lewe nie van. My hele doop, vir wat lewe ek nog? My hele toekoms is weg. Ek kan nie slaap as ek nie alcohol in my liggaam het nie. Die pille, die slaappille van die kliniek nie. Bloeddruk en die stresspille, hulle help nie eens weer nie. Van, is net een ding wat ek net, as ek kan nie eens lang in die toilet in sit nie, van ek dink ek net in die poetjie. Daar staan ek op van as ek in 'n donker kamer is, ek moet net tussen mense is om te kan praat. En ek blink elke dag as ek uitval, ek wil eens nog dink of lang by die huis wees, by my ouma se huis wees van. Ek blink net in die alcohol en dan as al wat my kan help om te laat slaap. Ek mis my leidetjie besluitlik van. Hy is my eerste liefde, my hoop wat ek hom gegee het. En ek kan nie so na hom wees. My boeta as ek hier kom, dan kom haal ek my boeta en ek gaan vir my van die sondag na my ouma toe en dan is hy heeltyd by mekaar. Sien ek kom in die straat en dan kom haal hy so myself na my toe. As hy by my, ek kan nie weer nie. Ek weet hoe verder kan ek dit nog uitdoen nie, maar die sielkundige gee my hoop en sy help my baie. Ek kan sê praat oor die goed. Ek het sê elke maand, elke dinsdag, is die slechte dag van my leven. En ek was nog laat school toe geweest. Ek heb nog laatst gezien het. Ek het hem nog die zaterdag nog laatst gezien, die dinsdag wordt die weg. Dinsdag nog school toe gegaan. Die aand wat hulle my kom sê, hy was so heel geweest. Sê hulle my toe loop ek en ek loop soek met my mense. Daai selfde aan wat na die polisiestasie toe gaan, wat ek na die polisiestasie toe gaan, van ek het dan op sluk gebly. Toe is daar nie eens 'n wen op die stasie, die polisiestasie is toe. Wat hulle kan daai selfde tyd al loadbook gedoen het en vorige keer. Maar dan kan iemand ontsnap nie. Hulle nog eens die grense toegemaak of loadbook gedoen nie. Niks van daai nie. Ek vra net Boeta asseblief, kom net huis toe na papa toe. Asseblief Boeta. Is al wat ek vra, wat die mense minder die help, die government minder die help, kan huis toe kom.
We have fast run out of time. Marthe, I am so sorry that we couldn't get to your comments, but we'll try to get your comments and get it on our socials as well to contribute to this conversation. All our digital audience, Bianca, better mind on this program. Thank you very much indeed for your take as well. Here's my take. Often this country finds itself in a paroxysm of pain due to missing children, due to the killing of these young, precious angels. We report on it almost on a daily basis, but as a nation, we have to resist this urge of becoming numb to the sorrow, because often what you ignore, you empower. Who will then stand up and protect them? Who will be accountable? I think we all need to, isn't it? the police, the rest of you who make up the justice system, as well as you and I, you and me, see something, say something. We have to put purpose to your pain, the pain you heard here, and know that, as Missing Children SA says, prevention is the most effective way to keep our children safe. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.